When I think the word hood, I think of a person, a place, and perhaps even a thing. I'm Sir Creepsta, and welcome to Muhlenberg County Ghost Stories from the Hood. Tonight's Tale of Terror is entitled School on Haunted Hill. For reasons still to this day unknown, Central City was a hotspot for the strange and the supernatural. I'm really not sure that as kids, if we possibly conjured up things such as ghosts just by simply talking about them and then sharing the stories amongst ourselves. It's as if we were able to magically unlock some sort of portal between our world and that of the supernatural. All I know is that nearly all of my peers experienced something dealing with the supernatural at least once during our teenage years. This is also true with many of our family and friends who happened to come before us. Regardless of the means of how any of the stories I share with you were obtained, these stories are true. So, sit back, relax, grab some snacks, and be terrified by another Muhlenberg County ghost story from the hood. As I mentioned in my earlier stories, as kids we did nothing other than watch cartoons on Saturday indoors. Everything was done outside in the God-given fresh air. We were all very creative at being able to make up games on the fly, such as Captain Flag and others. But we also did more traditional things, such as having a simple rock fight. Yes, I know before you say anything that tossing rocks at one another was something that was very dangerous, but we did it anyways, and thanks to the Lord above, none of us were ever seriously injured. The story that I'm about to share with you tonight once again includes myself and 3 of my peers. It's one that even to this day, when asked about it, none of us have an explanation for what happened to us on that dreadful day. The year was around 1976, and me and my 3 other peers were all around 13 or 14 years old at the time. One hot summer's day, just out of the blue, we all decided to have a rock fight, seeing that we had grown pretty bored at throwing rocks at the pigeons that were on top of the roof of the old color school gymnasium. Once the decision was official, we flipped a coin to see who would be teamed up together. Once we got inside the gymnasium, we flipped again to see which team would have the stage recover, leaving the other team with the entrance into the gym as theirs. We used the distance of the basketball court as our boundaries to work with. On the end where the entrance was, there were 2 doorways with about 20 feet of concrete wall in between them. This provided the perfect cover for my 2 peers who chose to start at that end, leaving the stage for me and my other friend. We were about 15 or 20 minutes into the fight, and other than the loud bang of the rocks hitting the stage and the concrete walls at the other end, no harm had come to anyone. After about 25 minutes into the fight, my friend and I noticed that the other 2 guys had stopped throwing rocks our way. We immediately assumed that they had just stepped out to gather more rocks. In their absence, we began to notice a strange and chilling presence that had come over the damp, dimly lit gymnasium. Before he and I could say anything, the other 2 guys came storming up onto the stage through the small door that was located behind us. When we asked them what was wrong, the reply was that while they were outside gathering rocks, one of them happened to glance up at the entrance to the gym and noticed a couple of strange, dark figures standing in a dimly lit hallway. They had at first thought that it was us, but upon further observation of the figures, we immediately knew that it wasn't, especially after getting a brief look at their eyes. Out of fear, they struck out and ran down the side of the building, not stopping until they reached a small door which led to the stage where we were. After hearing this, at first my friend and I laughed at them and called them wimps, as well as a few other choice words that I dare not say at this moment. But it was a look on their faces that painted a completely different picture. They were definitely scared out of their minds of something, and it clearly showed. The 2 of them probably hadn't been there any longer than 5 minutes when my partner hit me unexpectedly in my chest and then pointed in the direction of the entrance into the gym, telling me to look. What the hell was that peeking out from behind the doorway to the left? As I turned and looked in the direction he was pointing at, I also momentarily saw a head peek out from behind the door. At that time, I mentioned it to the other two guys who had joined us, yelling at them to look that way. As soon as they did, the figure once again briefly poked its head out from behind the door, only this time it allowed us all to see and witness it together. But as quickly as it had appeared, it was gone. Before we could say anything, it appeared yet again and poked its head out. Only this time there wasn't just one glowing-eyed figure in the doorway. There was two. At that point, we all just looked at one another with a look of both fear and disbelief at what was happening right before our very eyes. And like clockwork, before we could say or do anything to respond to it, there they were again, with those glowing eyes. Only this time, instead of two sets of eyes staring our way, there was more like 3 or 4. At this point, not knowing who or what we were dealing with, we all simultaneously started hurling rocks their way, noticing that they no longer were just ducking in and out from behind the door. They all just stood there, crunched up together in the doorway with those glowing white eyes. With our adrenaline flowing through our body, we continued to fire rocks at them like crazy, and it didn't take long for us to notice that the rocks weren't having any kind of effect on them at all. It appeared as if the rocks just went right through them, striking the walls behind them so hard that it sounded like thunder. Then suddenly, one of my peers yelled out, "Hey y'all, I think we need to get the heck out of here, because none of the rocks that we're throwing at them seem to be doing anything." And that's exactly what we all did. We got our butts the heck out of there so fast that it will make your head swim. Never again setting foot inside the school throughout our remaining teenage years for rock fights or anything else. And to this very day, we still don't have an answer to what showed up that day in the old colored gym and scared us so bad. All I can say is this, a word to the wise. Although the school has been abandoned for many years and used for various things, beware of what still might be lurking there in the shadows late at night, just waiting on some poor hapless souls to participate in one good old last rock fight. Until next time, I'm Sir Creepsta, and stay terrified.